Approaches to conflict resolution. What do people do? When they come to a conflict resolving situation, what do people do? 5 basic ways of addressing conflict were identified by Thomas and Kilman in 1976, and they still hold today. These are avoidance, collaboration, compromise, competition, and accommodation. We will look at each one of these one by one. Avoidance. What does it look like? Avoid, postpone conflict by. You try to avoid conflict or you postpone it. I know it's going to happen, but not today. Let's just disappear and we'll see tomorrow and worry about that later, and so on and so forth. So you ignore conflict. You act as if you're blind and deaf. You never heard it. You never saw it. You ignore it. Respecting that everyone has different opinions. You understand that different people have their own opinions and you respect that. Not rising to it, you don't give yourself into the conflict situation. You avoid it, you stay out of it. Asking to talk about it later when it's less busy. Not now. I have other things to do. Can we talk about it tomorrow? Can we talk about it next week? And you postpone. You try to drag that thing, but you are not doing it now. That is why it is avoidance. You try to avoid it at that particular time. When to use it? For minor, non-recurring conflicts. When the conflict is not serious, you can avoid it. And when the conflict is not one that will keep appearing again and again and again. It's a one-time event. It happened. Let's avoid it and forget about it. Only for minor, non-recurring conflicts should avoidance be used. What are the potential outcomes of avoiding? Ignoring negative verbal behaviors can diffuse situations. When people say things you don't like, act as if you're deaf, you never heard it. You're avoiding, you're ignoring, you're not paying attention. Because a lot of times people say these mean things only because they want to see how you will react to it. So don't react. May exacerbate the situations. If you are avoiding over time, it's now 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you're trying to avoid addressing this issue, it will become worse. So avoidance cannot be tolerated long term. Short term, okay, but the issue must at some point be addressed. For avoidance, consider, is a conversation required? Should we talk about it or should we keep quiet? The avoiding individual prefers to be quiet. Is this actually a pattern involving the same individual? Has this happened last month too? It's happened again. Is it the same individuals? So you try to look for a pattern, and when you see a pattern, you begin to avoid. Well, it's going to happen again next week. See, the signs are showing up. If this is a pattern, do you need to support it? If it is a recurring pattern, are you willing to support it? People who avoid are not willing to support it, even if it is a repeating pattern. The second one was collaboration. What does it look like? Collaboration is working together to find a mutually beneficial solution. So all the people involved work together, not just some, all, because it's collaborating. When do you use it? As part of problem solving and in meetings or one-on-one situations. You want to collaborate. You want to talk. You can talk one-on-one. You can talk in a meeting, have a discussion, a dialogue, or more appropriately, you make this a part of a problem-solving situation. You can't solve a problem by avoiding it. You can't solve a problem by not talking about it. You can't solve a problem by ignoring it. So, talk about it. Potential outcomes. This leads to win-win solutions, to conflict or disagreement. Because it's mutual, everybody is involved, everybody is talking, everybody is part of it, and so everybody benefits. This is a win-win outcome. Consider how much time you have available and how well you know those you are speaking with. What is the time? Because collaboration with 7, 8 people talking, you will need time. It's not like one individual coming and making a speech and going away. When there's a discussion, time is of the essence. And, of course, who are the individuals involved? If there are stubborn individuals, if they are amicable individuals, it will make a difference to the process of resolution. How to use your questioning skills to capture everyone's requirements and gain agreement. You can't have a dialogue or a discussion if there are no questions. So when somebody says something, you don't blindly accept it. You ask for reasons, clarifications, ask for examples, ask for supporting facts and elements, and that is what makes collaboration strong. The third one is compromise. You compromise, you work together, and you try to find a common element. Finding a middle ground in which each party is partially satisfied. In the previous one, collaboration, both parties are equally satisfied. Here, the parties are satisfied but partially, because you've come to a middle ground. I give up something, the other party gives up something, we agree to meet 50-50, halfway along the way. I meet halfway, the other party meets halfway, and so we've compromised. I have done some compromising, the other individual has done some compromising. When to use it? As part of problem solving. Sometimes problem solving requires compromising. You have to give up something to gain something. When the time to collaborate effectively is not available, collaboration takes more time, compromising takes relatively less time. So when you're time bound and you're restricted by the amount of time you have, compromising might be a better way to go compared to collaboration. When the situation is less complex, a compromise is better. When the situation is complex, you still want to try and get collaboration. Potential outcomes. The key requirements or expectations of those involved may be resolved. The key, not all, the key requirements or expectations may be resolved. All expectations may not be resolved through compromise. Consider, when you're compromising, will those involved be satisfied with a partial solution? Will the two parties be happy with a partial solution, a 50-50 agreement? How to use your questioning skills to capture requirements. You want to be sure that both parties understand the terms and conditions of the compromise. That happens through effective questioning. How to gain agreement before continuing. You want the two parties to agree before you move on, and moving on means you want to try the compromise solution to see. But if the parties don't agree, there's going to be no trial of the compromise solution. Competition is the next one. What does it look like? Asserting your viewpoint at the potential expense of those involved. In other words, I am, or one party is the dominating factor. I take over, one party takes over, and that's all I'm interested in. I'm the one talking, this one party is the one talking, the others are kept silent. When to use it? Rarely. This is not something you want to use every day. Potential outcomes? You may appear aggressive or arrogant. Because I'm doing all the talking, I'm dominating, people may see me as not being very helpful, and therefore I may be seen as being aggressive or arrogant or rude and not giving in to what other people are trying to suggest and say. And it will also lead to poor working relationships. Because I'm the one who's doing all the talking. How do I build interpersonal skills if the other individuals never have a chance of contributing something to the discussion that should be taking place? For competition, consider, why would your viewpoint be any more correct or relevant than everyone else's? Why should people listen to you? What do you have to say? Why shouldn't they listen to what everyone has to say? Why is your viewpoint supposedly so much better than the viewpoint of others? What you could ask those involved in order to understand the situation better. Consider, I want to know more about the situation. What can I ask? Now, this, for a person in competition, is extremely difficult to do, but needs to be done. If I don't ask, I'm only looking at my own perspective. That is not enough in conflict resolution. Competition note: it is almost always best to ask questions and get an understanding of context before offering an opinion. At least get the feel of the situation, the background. Why did this conflict happen? Get your context right, and then you can go and share your opinion, your suggestions, your recommendations, your ideas, your feelings, your perspectives. But you need to get the context right at least before you do it. Accommodation, what does it look like? Surrender your own needs and wishes to cater to the other party. I'm accommodating, I'm giving up. I surrender because you will be the one party that is going to win in this case. When to use it? If this will achieve the best outcome. If the best solution comes through accommodating, do it. If not, don't do it. Look at other ways in which to resolve conflict. What are the potential outcomes? A short-term solution that you can live with. Obviously, when one party or one individual has stepped back, the solution is not going to be long-lasting. The other party that stepped back may still hold grudges, may still not be happy with the other party, and some other conflict may show up between the same two parties at some other time. If you are the one accommodating, then over time you might resent working in this way. Especially if one conflict after the other, you are doing all the sacrificing, you are doing all the accommodating, you might hate it, and you may not want to work in this fashion again and again and again. Consider for accommodation, why would your viewpoint be any less correct or relevant than anyone else's? Because when you accommodate, when you step back, you are not even sharing your viewpoint because you think your viewpoint is not good, will not carry as much weight. Why do you think so? What the circumstance is. What is the current circumstance that makes you give up on this issue? Do you need to build a working relationship? Are you interested in a working relationship, particularly if the individual or the other party is involved in your same department, is involved working with you, under you, above you, or however manner they are working in the same organization? Are you choosing to do this because of hierarchy? A lot of times, if I'm in conflict with my boss, I think my boss is right and I give up. I avoid. I do some accommodating. I let the boss have his way. Now, that may be right in some cases. In most cases, it is not. The boss also, after all, is a human being and can make mistakes. What you could ask those involved in order to understand the situation better? Are you interested in finding out? Because if you're accommodating, you see, you're telling them, I'm not even interested. But I think the individual should spend some time asking questions, finding out what is happening.